I used to sleep with the lights off. Not because I was brave, because I was normal. Because darkness was just darkness, a natural absence, a reset button for the mind. Night meant the world stopped asking questions. Then I brought her back into my apartment. I didn't buy her. That's the thing. I didn't choose her like you choose furniture, or art, or anything you want in your space. She was handed to me in a cardboard box that smelled like old paper and attic dust, sealed with brittle tape and an apology. My aunt died in late November. I didn't cry. That makes me sound cold, but grief is weird like that. Some losses are slow and distant. Some people are already gone long before the funeral. What I felt wasn't sadness so much as obligation. The uncomfortable weight of inheriting someone else's objects, someone else's history, like you're being asked to carry a life you didn't live. The box was one of many. Old photos, knickknacks, jewelry I didn't want, a ceramic angel with its head snapped off, and the doll. She was wrapped in a yellowed towel like someone was trying to hide her from the world, or hide the world from her. When I pulled the fabric away, her face caught the window light and flashed a faint shine off glass eyes that were too clear to belong to anything that wasn't alive. Porcelain, pale and smooth, with painted lips that were almost smiling, almost not. Curls of hair that looked too perfect for something that had sat in a box for decades. A lace collar. Small hands that made me think of a child's fingers. And then, just as quickly, made me think of bones. It was the eyes that stayed with me. Dolls always have eyes, obviously, but these were different. They weren't the cheap plastic kind you forget the moment you look away. They had depth, like they held light instead of reflecting it, like they were waiting for something to happen. I laughed, actually laughed out loud, alone in my apartment. It was ridiculous. A toy, an object, a souvenir from an era where innocence came mass-produced and wrapped in lace. I set her on my bookshelf, third from the left, between a cracked music box I'd never wind and a snow globe with a tiny church inside. She fit there like she belonged, which should have been reassuring. It wasn't. That night I went to bed early. Work had been heavy. I'd been short with people. I told myself that when I closed my eyes, my brain would shut off. It didn't. I woke up at 2:13 a.m. Not the drifting kind of wake up, not the bathroom in the dark kind. I woke like something had snapped a cord inside me, eyes open, heart already running, breath caught halfway. The room was quiet. Too quiet. Even the refrigerator hum sounded distant, muted, like the apartment was holding its breath with me, and the feeling came, clean and instant. Someone is watching you. I didn't want to move, not because I believed in anything supernatural, because something ancient in me had taken control. The part of the brain that doesn't debate, the part that doesn't need proof. My eyes stayed on the ceiling for a long moment, waiting for the feeling to fade. It didn't. So I turned my head toward the bookshelf. The streetlight outside filtered in through the blinds in thin gray strips. The room existed in layers, outlines, gradients, soft angles, familiar things reduced to shapes. And there she was, the doll. The edge of her face caught a slice of light. One eye glimmered, just a little. A pinprick. A reflection, I told myself. But it didn't behave like reflection. When I shifted slightly under the covers, the glimmer shifted too, not sliding across the glass like a normal highlight, but holding position as if it was adjusting to keep me centered. My throat tightened. I stared at her until my eyes watered. Then I did the thing adults do when they're trying not to admit fear. I argued with myself, you're tired, your eyes are adjusting, you're making a pattern where there isn't one. But the feeling didn't change. It deepened, like my body knew before my mind could accept it. That thing is aware of you. I rolled over and faced the wall. I forced my breathing to slow, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The kind of self-soothing you learn when you're trying to stay functional. And then I felt it again. Not a sound, not movement, a shift in the room. The sense that something behind me had leaned forward. I didn't turn around. I stayed facing the wall with my eyes wide open until my alarm went off. In the morning, the doll was exactly where I'd left her. Of course she was. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. The second night, I told myself I wasn't afraid. I told myself I'd been grieving in some weird, delayed way, and my nervous system was just looking for somewhere to dump the tension. I went to bed in the dark again because I refused to let an inanimate object dictate my life. At 2:13 a.m. I woke again. Same exact time. Same snapping cord inside me. Same instant awareness. I didn't even have to look toward the bookshelf this time. I knew she was looking at me. I turned my head slowly. Her face was in shadow now, barely visible, but the eyes found the light, both of them, two small pale moons in the dark, reflecting just enough to make them seem open wider than they should be. I froze. Then, from somewhere in the apartment, there was a soft sound, a click. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was the kind of sound you'd miss if you weren't listening for it. The kind of sound a plastic eyelid makes when it shifts. My skin prickled. I stared at the doll until the edges of the room began to warp from staring too long. My brain started making suggestions, seeing things in the corners, pulling faces from darkness that weren't there. Finally, I sat up and reached for my phone. The screen lit my hands and cast a cold glow across the room. The doll's eyes no longer glimmered. In the phone light, she looked stupid again, harmless, a porcelain face with painted lips. My heart slowed just enough to make me angry. At myself, at my mind, at the fact that fear could hijack me so quickly. The next day, I moved her. Not because I believed she moved, because I didn't want to see her when I woke up. I put her in the hall closet with the vacuum and winter coats. I shut the door firmly. I even made sure the latch caught. Out of sight, out of mind. That's what people say. That night, I slept with the door to my bedroom closed. At 2:13 a.m., I woke. This time, I didn't feel watched from the bookshelf. I felt watched from the hallway. The air felt organized, as if something had arranged itself outside the bedroom door. I sat up slowly, listened. Nothing. Then, from the hall, a soft brushing sound, like fabric, like something shifting against a coat sleeve. I stared at the line of darkness under my bedroom door. My mouth went dry. Another sound. Not a footstep, a careful pressure, a faint scrape. I slid out of bed. My legs felt unreal, like they didn't belong to me. I crossed the room and put my ear near the door. Silence, and then a tiny click, small, precise, like a fingernail tapping plastic. I backed away. I told myself, it's just the building settling, or maybe some pipes, perhaps the closet latch. But the fear in my body didn't listen to logic. Logic lives in the front of the brain. Fear lives deeper. I went back to bed and pulled the blanket up to my chin like a child, and I stayed awake until morning. When daylight came, I opened the closet. The coats hung motionless. The vacuum sat where it always did, and the doll was upright. She hadn't been upright when I put her in. I'd laid her down in the box towel, wrapped like a burial. Now she sat propped against a shoebox, hands folded neatly in her lap, face tilted slightly as if she'd been listening through the door. I stared at her. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I just stood there in the bright morning light while something cold crawled up my spine. Because there are only two possibilities when something impossible happens. Either your senses are lying, or reality is. That day, I tried to get rid of her. I put her back in the box, wrapped her tight. I taped it shut like I was sealing a wound. I carried her down to the dumpster behind my building and threw the box in hard enough that it hit with a thud. Then I went back upstairs and washed my hands until my knuckles turned pink. That night I tried to sleep. At 2:13 a.m., I woke, and there was something on my bookshelf. Third from the left, between the cracked music box and the snow globe. The doll. She was back, not dragged in, not half hanging off the edge, not messy, placed, like someone had returned her to where she belonged. My heart didn't pound like before. It sank, because fear isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet certainty. Sometimes it's realizing you are no longer dealing with coincidence. I sat up in bed and stared across the room. Her head was tilted in the same direction as before, listening, waiting. I couldn't take my eyes off her. And then I realized something worse. The time on the clock. 2:12. 1 minute before. as if my body had started waking up early to prepare. I whispered, "No," not as a prayer, as a refusal. The room remained still, and then the doll's eyes caught a line of light that hadn't been there a second ago, a thin sliver sliding across the glass, like a blade being drawn slowly from a sheath. My breath became shallow. It wasn't the eyes themselves, it was the feeling behind them, as if they were not only seeing me, but recognizing me. I don't know how long I stared. Minutes? Hours. Time doesn't behave normally when you're afraid. At some point, I blinked. Just a normal blink. And when my eyes opened again, she was closer. Not by a lot. Just enough that my brain tried to deny it. Just enough that I could tell if I'd been looking for it. Now she was on the edge of the shelf instead of centered. As if she'd slid forward. As if she was considering the drop. I stared harder. I told myself I must have imagined it. Then I blinked again, and she was on the top of the dresser. Across the room, no sound, no footsteps, no shift of weight, just relocated. The air in my lungs turned to ice. I didn't blink after that. I forced my eyes open until they burned. Tears gathered. My body shook with the effort, because I understood the rule. It happens when you stop looking. It happens in the gap. It happens when the brain's camera lens closes for a fraction of a second, and reality uses that fraction like a doorway. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands and turned the flashlight on. The beam slammed into her face, and she was back on the shelf, centered, perfect, hands folded, smile unchanged. The phone light made her look harmless again, stupid, silent. I laughed, a sharp, broken sound, because that's what people do when their minds can't hold fear without cracking. I turned the flashlight off. Darkness returned, and in that darkness I heard it. Not from the doll, from inside the room. A soft plastic step. Then another. Tiny. Light. Like the weight of something small shifting across wood. I snapped the flashlight back on. Nothing. No movement. No doll on the floor. Just her sitting there like she'd been there all along. I turned it off again. Slower this time, as if caution could change physics. The footsteps returned. Closer. My skin tightened. My stomach rolled. I whispered, "Stop." The footsteps stopped. For 2 seconds. Then, right beside my bed, there was a sound like fingernails brushing the blanket. I turned the flashlight on so hard my thumb hurt. The doll was on the nightstand, beside me. Close enough that I could see fine cracks in the porcelain around her mouth. Close enough that her glass eyes held my reflection in miniature. My reflection looked wrong. Not because of lighting, because my eyes in the reflection were wider than mine felt. As if the doll was seeing a version of me I wasn't aware I was making. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I could not blink. Then the power went out. Not just the light, the phone too. The screen flickered once and went black, like something had drained it. The room collapsed into pure darkness. And in that darkness, I finally understood what people mean when they say primal. This wasn't an adult fear. This was the fear of something ancient, something that has nothing to do with logic, the fear of being prey. I heard a soft sound again, not footsteps, a small movement, a shift of porcelain, like something adjusting its posture. Then, a whisper, not a word, more like a breath pushed through a mouth that didn't need oxygen. My entire body locked. The whisper came again, and this time it sounded like my name, not spoken clearly, as if someone was learning how to say it. Testing it, and the worst part? The voice didn't sound like the doll, it sounded like me, like my own voice thrown back at me through someone else's throat. I wanted to scream, I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. I lay there in the dark with my eyes open, feeling the air change as something leaned closer. And then, right near my ear, I felt it, a cold presence. Not breath, not warmth. Cold, like an open refrigerator, like a grave. And the whisper came again, closer, more certain. "Look at me." I didn't. I couldn't. The darkness pressed in until it felt like hands. My heartbeat thudded so loudly I thought the neighbors would hear. Then the light snapped back on, power restored. The phone lit up again, and the doll was back on the shelf, third from the left, between the music box and the snow globe. like nothing happened. That should have been my breaking point, but it wasn't. What broke me wasn't the doll moving. It wasn't the voice. It wasn't the impossible relocation. It was what happened the next day. I went to work like a corpse pretending to be alive. I made coffee I didn't drink. I answered questions I barely heard. My hands shook when I tried to sign my name. At lunch, I Googled the doll. I searched the brand name stamped faintly on the back of her neck. I searched my aunt's name and doll and collection and estate. Nothing useful. Then I searched something I didn't want to search. Doll eyes following me at night. Thousands of results. People joking. People mocking. People calling it imagination. But buried in a forum thread that looked ancient, black background, old avatars, was a comment that made my stomach drop. Someone wrote, "They don't follow you. They practice you." Practice you. Like you're a face they're learning. Like you're a shape they want to wear. I closed my laptop. I went home early. I didn't look at the bookshelf when I walked in. I could feel her there anyway. That night, I didn't go to bed. I sat on the couch with every lamp on and the TV playing low as if noise could keep me safe. I watched mindless videos until my eyes burned. At 2:12 a.m., the TV flickered. At 2:13 a.m., the sound cut out completely. The screen stayed on, but the audio vanished like someone had put their hand over the speakers. I stared at the TV, heart pounding. On the screen was my living room, not a show, not an ad. My living room, the couch, the lamp, the bookshelf, a live feed. But I didn't have cameras. I don't own a baby monitor. I don't own a security system. And yet the image was there, steady and clear, like the room was being watched from somewhere high and slightly angled, from the ceiling. I turned my head slowly upward. There was nothing. I looked back at the TV. In the live feed, I was sitting on the couch, but my head was angled differently, as if the version of me on the screen was looking at something I wasn't. Then, in the feed, the doll's head turned, just slightly, not enough to be dramatic, enough to be unmistakable. And in the feed, not in my actual room, the doll stood up. I felt my stomach drop. I looked toward the bookshelf. In real life. She was still sitting. I looked back at the TV. In the feed, she took a step, a tiny, careful step along the shelf, then another. And as she moved, her shadow stretched wrong, like it belonged to something taller than her porcelain body. I couldn't breathe. The feed zoomed in, not with a mechanical zoom, with intention, like something leaned closer to the camera. The doll's face filled the screen. Those glass eyes held something dark behind them now, something that made the uncanny valley feel like a joke. And then my reflection appeared in the eyes. Not my face, not my expression, something else. A version of me with a blank mouth and a smile painted too perfectly. The TV speakers crackled once. A whisper slid through. "Now you see it." I threw the remote at the screen. It bounced off harmlessly. The feed didn't change. The doll on the screen leaned closer, and I realized the camera angle wasn't from the ceiling. It was from the doll's height, from the shelf. The feed was her view. She was watching through the room like her eyes were lenses. And in that moment, the feeling that had haunted me for nights finally made horrible sense. I wasn't being watched by the doll. I was being watched through her. I stood up slowly, legs trembling. My eyes drifted, against my will, toward the bookshelf. The doll in the room sat perfectly still, but something in her eyes, not light, not reflection, depth, like open doors. I took a step toward her. The TV feed continued to show my movement, but delayed, a fraction of a second behind, like it couldn't keep up with reality, or like it needed time to interpret me. I reached the bookshelf. My hands hovered. I didn't want to touch her. Touching felt like permission. I swallowed hard and said out loud, "What do you want?" The doll did not move, but the music box beside her, the broken one I'd never wind, clicked. The lid lifted by itself. A thin metallic melody spilled out, warped and slow, as if the song had been dragged through deep water. I didn't recognize the tune, but my body did. My skin crawled with the certainty that it was something I used to hear as a child. something I'd forgotten on purpose. I backed away, shaking. The doll's head tilted, a millimeter, a patient adjustment. And the whisper returned, not from the TV, not from the room, but from inside my own skull. You gave me a place. I clutched my head like I could hold my thoughts inside. I stumbled backward into the hallway, away from the bookshelf, away from the shelf that suddenly felt like an altar. My eyes darted to the hall closet. The door was open again, only a sliver, and inside, coats hanging like bodies, a shadow that didn't match their shape, a small, pale face in the dark, watching, practicing. That's when I understood the most sinister truth of all. This wasn't about the doll moving. This wasn't about haunting. This was about replacement. Dolls don't blink because they don't need to. They wait. They study. They learn the geometry of your room, the rhythm of your breathing, the timing of your fear. They learn your name, then they learn your voice. Then they start trying it on, like a mask, like a skin. And one night, when your eyes finally close long enough, they stop practicing and they start becoming. I don't live there anymore. I left everything behind. The couch, the bookshelf, the boxes I never finished unpacking. I walked out with my phone at 8% and my keys shaking in my hand. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about running from something like that. You can leave a room, you can leave a building, you can leave a city, but you can't leave a pattern your brain has learned. Because now, anywhere I sleep, my body does it automatically. At 2:12 a.m., my heart speeds up. At 2:13 a.m., my eyes open, and I feel it. That same organized silence, that same sense of being observed. Not from a shelf, not from a closet, from somewhere just outside the edge of vision. Sometimes in hotel mirrors, I catch my own reflection lagging behind by half a second. Sometimes when I blink, I swear my face resets into something too smooth, too still, too perfectly arranged. And sometimes, this is the worst part, sometimes I wake up and I don't feel fear at all. I feel calm, like the presence is familiar, like I've known it forever, like it's been with me since childhood, like it wasn't the doll that followed me, but whatever was looking through her eyes. I don't keep dolls in my rooms anymore. I don't keep mirrors facing the bed. I sleep with a lamp on, even if it burns my eyes, even if it makes the room feel wrong. Because darkness is where my brain starts filling in gaps, and I can't trust what it fills them with. I can't trust the sound of soft plastic footsteps in the silence. I can't trust the feeling of glass eyes finding me. I can't trust that the thing watching me is still only practicing. Last night I woke up at 2:13 a.m., and for the first time I didn't feel watched. I felt expected, like something had been waiting for me to open my eyes. My phone was on the nightstand. Screen facing down, it lit up by itself. No notification sound, just a glow bleeding across the sheets. I picked it up. There was no call, no text, just my front-facing camera open, a live feed of my face, my real face, staring back at me in the dark. But the eyes on the screen didn't move the same way mine did. They held steady, fixed, glass-like, and slowly, the mouth on the screen curved into a smile that I was not making. A smile too perfect, a smile painted on. Then the screen flickered, and for a fraction of a second, I saw her. Porcelain, lace collar, hands folded, third from the left, between the broken music box and the snow globe, and behind her eyes, a room I didn't recognize. As if she wasn't in my apartment anymore, as if she was somewhere else entirely. And she was still watching, still practicing, still learning, waiting for the night my eyes close and don't open fast enough.